Hey everybody, and Tony here with a review of Verdi's Don Carlo with conductor Roberto Rizzi-Brignoli and starring Jamie Barton as La Principessa d'Eboli, which I saw at the Deutsche Oper Berlin. And this was also the same production I saw about 3 years ago. So let's cut to the chase as I talk about the singers, starting off with the main reason why I wanted to see this particular production of Don Carlo once again. The ever fabulous, ever wonderful Jamie Barton as Eboli. I have been following this particular dramatic mezzo-soprano's career for quite some time, starting off with a few YouTube clips and eventually seeing a couple of Met Live in HD productions where she sang the roles of Fenenna from Verdi's Nabucco and Yezbaba from Dvorak's Rusalka. My impressions of her voice are, in general, very good. What I really love about Jamie Barton's voice is that it's not only beautiful in all of the registers, but at the same time it has that really steely quality and it has that fine and plush timbre which is so homogeneous throughout all the registers. And in terms of her theatricality, she just bursts with radiance, charisma, brilliance, and such flair that she makes me want to love her, not only as a singer, but also as a person. I was really excited to know that she was going to make her Deutsche Oper debut in this particular role. Even though her Deutsche Oper debut was mainly weeks ago, I knew that I was going to have to catch her singing live. I have been wanting to see Miss Barton sing live, and I finally got my wish when she sang the role of Eboli. What I really love about her in this particular role is that she was able to throw herself in the character. And that's very much in evidence in everything she does. She's a singer who is dedicated, who is meticulous, and she's someone who has a lot of charisma and audacity to portray all of these characters with great flair and with great enthusiasm. I could see the charisma that she has in her eyes and in her voice and everything she does. She was quite playful in the first act, but as the opera progresses, she starts to act a little bit more vindictively, and during her great aria, O Don Fatale, I could definitely see a lot of remorse, anguish, and regret just pouring out of her soul as she was singing that particular aria. Technically speaking, she is flawless. I can spot no flaws in her whatsoever. She continues to have a plush, gorgeous, and electrifying dramatic mezzo voice. Her theatricality is at her absolute prime, and she was an overall great singing actress as Eboli. I definitely bought her in this role, and she was the absolute star of the evening. In fact, she practically stole the show in this particular role. She stood out in such a tall, beautiful, and graceful manner, and also in a fiery manner, as she was able to dominate in this particular role thanks to her sturdy and strong dramatic mezzo-soprano voice and her flair for drama and her overall great talents as a singing actress. So, Miss Jamie Barton, if you're watching this, I give you a great amount of kudos for a job excellently done and for a superb debut at the Deutsche Oper Berlin. Then we also have our other leading lady, Alisa Betts di Valois, sung superbly by Liana Harutonian, and I also saw her in this particular role at the Staatsoper am Theater, and I thought she did a very fine job. She continues to have a great sense of theatricality. She threw herself into the role superbly. She was able to make Alisa Betts dignified, tall, and beautiful, and very graceful in her manner. And she was an overall fine singing actress. Vocally speaking, I would have loved to have a huger sounding voice like Renata Tebaldi or Leonie Rezanek, Leontine Price, Margaret Price, Hannelore Kruse, and all of these great spinto slash dramatic sopranos of the past. But I digress. I still have to give my hat off to Madame Liana Harutonian for a job wonderfully done, for getting herself into this particular character with finesse, grace, and nobility, and for doing a fine job singing one of her trademark roles, Elisabetta di Valois. Theodore Ilintzai was an extremely wonderful Don Carlo, complete with an incisive spinto tenor voice. I have also followed this particular tenor's career for quite some time, and what is so notable about this particular tenor is the size and incisiveness of his voice, especially when he hits the high notes. He managed to warm himself up really well. The first act, I thought he was really good, but he got a lot better in the later acts of the opera, thus showing a lot of vocal buildup, which he was able to execute to the best of his abilities. And his talents as a singing actor were very much in evidence, not only thanks to his piercing and incisive spinto tenor voice, but also his youthful countenance, his rebellious nature, and the way he was able to make Don Carlo a ferociously fierce and tall, proud, yet impetuous character. He was just so wonderful as a singing actor that I practically had my heart bleed so many times just watching this handsome spinto tenor with the grace of an Apollo, yet a voice that just resounds like thunder. He managed to combine great theatricality and great musicianship into one great package, and I was completely enthralled by his performance as Don Carlo. Etienne Dupuis was a noble Rodrigo de Posa. I have also followed this particular baritone's career for quite some time, and while he is a natural lyric baritone, he also manages to sing a lot of roles in the dramatic baritone repertoire, most notably that of Germont from La Traviata, and even that of Renato from Verdi's Un ballo e maschera. He manages to do a solid job singing the role of Rodrigo di Posa. However, I have in my ears a lot of the great baritones of the past, most notably Leonard Warren, Cheryl Mills, Piero Cappuccilli, Matteo Manugera, Paolo Gavanelli, and to some extent Dietrich Fischer-Dieskau and Thomas Hampson, mostly thanks to the way they managed to make Rodrigo di Posa a noble character who's also quite youthful. And I definitely have to give Etienne Dupuis a lot of credit where credit is due, as he was able to make Rodrigo de Posa a noble figure on stage. And at the same time, I also have to give him a lot of credit for his really fine singing and his really fine portrayal of the Marquis de Posa. I was also rather enthralled by his performance, and I also liked his death scene. And you can't have a great Don Carlo without three great bassos, and we had such bassos of fine caliber tonight. Starting off with Giacomo Brzeska, who sang the role of Filippo II. Now, I've been following this particular basso's career for quite some time as well, as he mostly specializes in the Italian and French repertoire, with mostly Verdi as his grand forte. especially when it comes to roles like Silva from Ernani, Massimiliano from I Masnadieri, and of course Procida from I Vespri Siciliani. And let's not forget about Filippo II, one of his signature roles of all time. And while I definitely felt that Giacomo Prestia had a sturdy and strong basso cantante voice, complete with plush notes and a wonderfully dark and cavernous timbre, there were times I seemed to notice that his age kinda gave him away, as he's nearly pushing 60, given the fact that he's currently 57, and there were times that his age was quite evidenced in his voice, which was also kind of on the vibrato-y side, but I still have to give Signore Prestia lots of credit for a job superbly done when he sang the role of Filippo II. What I love about his characterization is that I definitely felt not only the side of power that he has in public and even as the king, but I could also feel his complexities as well as a character. How he was able to make him a very lonely old man, how he was able to make him feel like he was rejected by not only his wife but also the many people that respect him. There are a lot of complexities that Signore Prestia gives to this particular character, and he did an amazing job all throughout. He showed endurance, he showed great musicianship, and he was an overall fine basso. He was absolutely amazing as Filippo II that I practically forgot about some of the tiny vocal faults that I managed to find, mostly because of his age and mostly because he's been singing a huge repertoire for many years. Yet despite all that, Signore Prestia had superb characterization, a great basso cantante tone, and he was absolutely moving as Filippo II. And everything he did superbly. Then we go to Albert Pesendorfer, returning as the Grand Inquisitor. And what more can I say about this fine basso profondo? He has a tall, towering, and strong presence. He was a pillar of fortitude, strength, and might, despite him playing a character who is in his 90s. And he was able to make him sound terrifying. He was able to make him sound fierce, like a lion on the prowl. And his scene with Giacomo Prestia's Filippo II was wonderful all throughout. It's like you could see these two big cats, whether it be two tigers or two lions or one lion and one tiger just clawing at each other, and it is so magnificent to witness two bassos just really getting at each other's throats. It is a superb watch from these two great gentlemen, and I have to give a great amount of kudos to Herr Pesendorfer for a job superbly done as he continued to sing the role of the Grand Inquisitor with a great amount of might, fortitude, and a very handsome basso profondo voice. Yevgen Orlov was an equally superb monk thanks to his dark and cavernous basso cantante voice and his strong vocal presence. Even though he was singing off stage, I definitely felt his presence. I definitely felt like my boots were almost about to shake because of that cavernous basso cantante voice. And I thought he did an amazing job, as always, singing this particular role. And I also have to give a great amount of kudos to all three bassos for being outstanding in everything they have done, whether it be Giacomo Prestia as Filippo II, Albert Pesendorfer as the Grand Inquisitor, and Yevgen Orlov as the monk. These three bassos were outstanding in everything they've done, not only vocally, but theatrically as well. We also had such superb singing from the likes of Gideon Poppa's youthfully lyrical Conte di Lerma and Harold, Abigail Levis's appropriately boyish and wonderfully sung Tebaldo, the page boy, and of course Adriana Ferfetska's heavenly tones as the voice from the heavens, who is practically a woman who is carrying her newborn baby throughout the streets as if to symbolize that she's almost like an image of the Virgin Mary. I definitely felt like Adriana Ferfetska did an amazing job embodying this role with grace and beauty. We also had such great ensemble singing from the gentlemen who sang the roles of the six Flemish deputies: Thomas Lehman, Philip Yekal, Seth Carrico, Andrew Harris, Samuel Dale Johnson, and John Carpenter were absolutely fabulous. Whether they were singing or whether they were just acting their parts, I thought that these six gentlemen really knew how to work as an ensemble. So overall, the singing was outstanding, and special praise has to go to Jamie Barton for a wonderful debut at the Deutsche Oper Berlin, and of course the three wonderful bassos, Giacomo Prestia, Albert Pesendorfer, and Yevgen Orlov, for jobs outstandingly done as Philip II, the Grand Inquisitor, and the monk, as they managed to have a lot of regal power and a lot of fortitude in their voices. Etienne Dupuis as Rodrigo de Poza, who managed to sing his role with dignity and beauty. And let's not forget about Liana Harutonian and Theodor Ilintsai, who sang the tragic pair of Alisa Betts and Don Carlo. And the conducting done by Roberto Rizzi-Brignoli was solid, even though there were some times that the orchestra kind of dragged, and sometimes it can kind of cause the singers to be either ahead of time or not ahead of time. But despite some of the faults there, he was able to muscle through, and he was able to lead the chorus, the orchestra, and all of the singers to the best of his abilities. So overall, with such outstanding singing headed by Jamie Barton as Eboli, and especially such fine conducting done by Roberto Rizzi-Brignoli, this evening of opera was spectacular. And for those of you who saw this particular production of Don Carlo, what did you think of it? Did you feel like Jamie Barton was really strong of a singer as Eboli? Was there another singer who managed to steal the show for you? Or did you feel like the singing was kind of mediocre in your ears? Comment below and let me know. Well, that's all for now. And summer vacation is fast approaching. I'm really excited to start on my summer break because there are a lot of awesome things that I have to offer. Mostly my travels to Munich, Rome, Florence, Pesaro, Verona, and Dresden. I will definitely have a lot of great material to review, and I'm really excited for my summer break to start. So until then, good night everybody, and stay awesome.